be using the mesh dome caps, but there are two different brands. Actually, this one is my favorite. It's the Q-Fit 5011 in black, and it's the mesh dome cap, not the swim cap, not the spandex cap. It's actually the mesh dome cap, and I'm going to take it out of the plastic so you all can see. But a good alternative would be the mesh dome cap, the Donna brand, and it's the 22521 in black. I do find that sometimes over time this cap does stretch a little bit, like almost like it's wearing out, but this one does not. But if the store is completely out of these and I cannot find them, then I will use this mesh dome cap. But if I have the time to order, I'll just go ahead and order them off Amazon in bulk so I can have many of these. And these are on my Amazon storefront. But these are actually my favorite and very easy to work with. They're both easy to work with, but this is my absolute favorite I've found. But I'm going to take them out of the pack so you all can see them. All right, so we'll look at this one first. This is the Q-Fit. And this is how it looks out of the packaging. It has like a little thing in here. And I usually hang on to this because if I want to do a test stitch, I'll actually test stitch on this little cardboard board. It's very thin and easy to use. But this is the cap. Very stretchy, very breathable. I like it. All right. And then this is the mesh dome cap, and I'm just going to take it out of the pack. It comes like this, a little thank you card. And this one is stretchy as well. Very breathable. Very nice. Okay. And I showed you both caps. So for this tutorial, we're going with the Q-Fit 5011 black. And I want to show you all, we have a wide spacing here, like the space is wide with the lines, and then we have like a more narrow space here. I always like to put the narrow like triangle versus the large space. I'll put the narrow triangle part towards the front. So this is the back, and then the little narrow triangle space goes towards the front. And we'll just put the cap on here, and it kind of goes like that. And I've found that usually this cap fits really good. We may have to adjust like a tad bit, but these caps usually fit really good. They're usually like a 22. But sometimes they come a little bigger. They do come in extra large too, just in case you need it for a size 24. This cap does come in extra large. But we're just gonna put the cap on here, and I'll show you how to tack it down properly in all the areas where I tack it down to get it to fit properly, to see if we need to remove any of the excess cap. So we'll bring that down, and you see where that 5 is? That's where we'll tack that cap down for that. And then we'll just move this because we don't need it anymore. And then we'll just pin that other side down. You see, once that other side is pinned down, it kind of takes the tension off the other side. And so we have it pinned down. It looks like we may have a little excess cap. You never want to leave the excess cap. You want to try to sew that down and make sure that we get that out of the way. Will actually lead to the measurements being off as well. So that has been a common problem for some people. They're saying like, hey, I did the measurements right. I put the cap exactly where the lines are or the tape is on the canvas head, but I'm still coming out with my wig too big. This is why. This right here. See all that excess cap? So once you take this off the canvas head, if you leave this like this, once you take this off the canvas head, this is going to be extra cap, which means this is going to cause more room to have this fold over your ear or this to come too far down, and it's going to leave too much air in there. So I'll show you all how to get rid of this space. It is 2 ways to get rid of this space, this extra space. You can sew it like this, where you fold this over and you just sew this down, that's pulling that space out, and then you take the other side and get that additional space and then sew that down, and then that's gonna smooth that out, right? But so you can do it that way. I've seen people do it that way. I've done it that way. But you can also bring all of this to the front. You see how I'm removing that space? But don't tug too hard because it may make your pins come up. You're just pulling it all to the front. See how that's smoothing out? And once you get it all to the front, it'll be like super smooth. Let me show you. See that? Now it doesn't have that space anymore. So you pull it all to the front. And then you tack it down. And I'll move out the way once I get it tacked down. Like that. And see, you'll tack it down and make sure you're not going too far over. So you're just flipping it over. You're flipping that fabric over so you can sew it down. You're just bringing it in, pulling it from the back, and then you're folding it down, getting ready to sew on it. Just like that. Use this thread today because it's just like my favorite, and I've had it so long and I'm attached to it. I'm using this thread today. This is what I sew with. We have the end here, and we'll just sew it. And when you sew it, bring it through that loop. So you have that loop right there, your needle through that loop, and it'll lock it in place. You just pull up until all of the thread goes inside of the cap. You can remove that once you got that thread in there, locked in place. I'm just gonna go ahead and thread this. You're just closing that up. You're just sewing down on that line. So that little line we created, sewing that, so you're pretty much stitching where the cap is, and you're just stitching this little flap down. That's all you're doing. So you're just connecting that flap with the front of the cap, and you're just stitching that down. Just stitching that flap down. And once you get to the pin and you've stitched that part, you can remove the pin. And just so you can get a better look, this is the flap. I'm taking the needle through that flap, then through that cap. And you will not be able to see this once you make the wig, because either you're going to cut this portion off when you're cutting off the excess cap with the lace, or it just won't be that visible. So I'll show you all what I mean later on in the tutorials. And then once you get close to the end, you're just gonna wrap that thread around that needle. And then push that needle through, and that's gonna lock that thread in place. and you just cut it. And now the cap is sewn down and it's seamless, and when you turn it around to the back, there's no extra bumps or grooves or anything. Now that's a perfect fit for this 22 head. And now you're ready to draw your lines on the cap and map out the lines on where you're sewing the tracks, whether you're making like a more thinner wig for like a bob, or you're making a thicker wig if somebody wants to like say, hey, I want to add 4 bundles to my wig. You would make like thinner lines, but I'll show you what I mean. This is actually going to be a closure bob wig. So we'll map out at the front where our closure will go, and then we'll map out the lines where we will lay our tracks on the sewing machine, and it'll just guide us through the wig making. Once we take it off the cap, we'll still be able to see what we're needing to do.